Welcome back. In this step, let's implement the server side for JWT. One of the things about JWT is while there are good frameworks available to create the JWT tokens, however, integrating JWT into an application is a very tedious job. It's almost like 400 to 500 lines of code before you would be able to integrate JWT into an application. What I've done is I've made a simple custom framework available on the GitHub repository of the course. If you'd search for JWT components, if you just search for JWT space components, you'd be able to get to this specific part of the code. What I would recommend you to do is go to your Eclipse, start with stopping the server, and what I'll do is I would start with refactoring the basic authentication part, and I will move it to a package, something like com in 28 minutes rest basic auth. The idea is basically that only the components which are present inside the subdirectories of the Spring Boot application are picked up by the Spring Boot application. So what we are doing is effectively disabling basic authentication configuration. So I will do this. Okay. So what happens now is only the only the components in packages which are in the sub packages of RESTful web services are picked up. The first thing I will do is go to the GitHub repository and search for JWT components, and you can pick up the application.properties configuration from there. So what I'm doing is copying a few things. Let's set this up first and we'll understand what is involved in each of these very soon. There is a JWT util that we would need to import in. So I'll go to the pom.xml and import a standard JWT library. Let's add a dependency right beneath Spring Security, and the group ID for it is io.json web token, and the artifact ID for it is JWT, and the version which we would want to use of that specific component is not 0.9.1, 0.9.1. Cool. Let's configure this, and as soon as we configure this, we can go to the GitHub repository, copy all the code. Make sure that you're copying it from the top to the bottom. Copy the entire thing until the last class, which is JWT token response. What you'll see when you try and copy this in is you'd see a lot of compilation errors. We'll fix them very soon. Before that, I'll create a new package. I want to create a package specifically for JWT. I'll call this .jwt and say finish. Now there is a package which is created here, JWT, and now I can go here and paste these stuff. You'd see that the paste would create a number of Java files. This is Eclipse magic which you are seeing in here. Eclipse creates all these files magically, and what we'll do is right click, source, organize imports. So just do a right click, source, organize imports on that and just say continue when you face errors. We'll fix all that stuff very soon. There are still compilation errors in some of the components. One of the things which we will do right now is we'll create a new package. So I'll create a new package and I'll call this .jwt.resource. So .jwt.resource. So we have a new package. Now I'll do a right click, refresh. Some of the times Eclipse gives me a problem when I don't really do a refresh. Now I see a JWT resource in here. There are a few resources that we are exposing with JWT. What I would want to do is I would want to move all those to that specific package. So let's start with the REST controller, the token request, the token response, and the authentication exception. Those are all the things that I would want to move to the JWT resource. These are related to the REST resource. That's the reason why I would want to move them to this package. Select these four. I would say right click, refactor, move, and I'll move it to the package JWT resource. Cool. Now again, I would go here and right click, source, organize imports. That's okay. Have problems and right click, refactor. actually source, organize imports, and say continue. Let's close all the files and let's open each one by one. All that I need to do is do a Control Shift O or organized imports and select the right ones. So I'll choose org slf for JLogger. I'll choose org slf for JLogger factory. And now you see that this file is compiling cool. Now the next one is Java token util. Control Shift O again, or the Command Shift O. I'll import Java util function. I'll use JWT clock, which is the first one. In most of the things, I'm choosing the first one, Java util map, Java util date, and this compiles. This might be an interesting exercise actually. Like how do I really get somebody to set up a project without really importing it completely? Now I've opened up this resource which is present in here, JWT unauthorized response authentication entry point. This is one of the important ones. What happens is by default, the authorization exception, the authentication exception that we have created in the application would be imported in. Actually, what we want to do is we don't want to use this authentication exception, but we would want to use the authentication exception from the Spring framework. The thing is, like whenever we do an organize imports, Eclipse directly tries and uses something which is inside the project directly. So we don't want that. I remove that and I would do a Control Shift O. And now it suggests all the other ones. So this was imported earlier. I don't want to use that. I would want to use the one which is developed in the one which is used in security core authentication exception. Once you use that, you'd see that this code would compile. I think this was one of the trickiest ones to import properly. The other ones would all be very straightforward. You just need to make sure that you are importing the first ones. So JSON ignore from faster XML and java.util.connection, java.util.list. That's it. Save. And the last one, Control Shift O again, java.util.objects. That's it. Now we have the entire JWT stuff set up. In the next step, we'll try and execute this code. We'll try and run this code and try and understand what's happening in the background. And the step after that, we will get to looking at this code again. I'll see you in the next step. Until then, bye-bye.